Hello, welcome back to Art Lessons Online. Now, I've had a few people emailing me asking for advice about drawing straight lines. And more recently this week, I've had one in particular from Michael who said he's been looking around all over the internet but hasn't been able to find a suitable video about drawing straight lines. So today, I'm going to help you get straighter lines with a few simple techniques. Now, the first thing really is to set expectations around what a straight line is. Now, of course, if you draw with a ruler, you're going to get a line that is perfectly straight with absolutely no deviations. If we're going to do that freehand, however, we can get close to it, but we're never going to get an exact, perfect, straight line without any deviations. Now, think about this for a minute. Think about how many muscles it actually takes to draw a line. You've got all the muscles in each of your fingers, you've got the muscles in your hands there across the back and at the front, you've got all your muscles up your forearm, you've got your biceps, triceps. All of these muscles participate in actually drawing any line. So for all of those muscles to work together so coherently that you can get a perfectly straight line, it's just not going to happen. But you can get fairly close, and there's a few tips to that. First of all, it's your grip. We really need to loosen up. If you're gripping it tightly and drawing like this, it's going to get wobbly. The tighter you're gripping, the more wobbly it's going to get. So we need to really loosen up our grip to start with. The lighter you're pressing, the straighter you can actually get it. So the grip I recommend is holding it about halfway up the pencil. Now, I don't actually hold the pencil, I just guide it. So I'll rest it there between my two fingers like this. Between my two middle fingers. My index finger comes over the top and it's just holding it there. There's not much pressure there at all. Same with my thumb. So between these four fingers, I'm barely holding the pencil at all. And that way, when I draw a line, the only pressure I'm applying is really gravity, just enough for the pencil to actually make a line on the paper. And with that light pressure, you'll notice a big difference between trying to draw heavy, and you can see already that that's fairly wobbly, and this straighter line that we got just by pressing lightly. So let's have another look at that. Press hard, press heavy, and you can see it's quite wobbly. Lighten up the pressure, grip it loosely, you can see immediately you can get a much straighter line. Now, it is lighter in density as well, but that's okay. We want our lines to be fairly light as we're building up our drawing anyway. So pressure is the first thing. The second thing is really about using your entire arm. Now think about this for a minute. If we use all of the muscles in our fingers to try and draw a line, which it wasn't too bad, but you can see there a little bit of wobbliness creeping in if I'm trying to use my fingers to constantly correct my line. Instead, I want to use my entire arm. What we're really trying to do here is reduce the amount of muscles we actually need to use to create that line. Because the more of them that we're using, the more of them they have to work together, and of course the result is going to be wobblier. So the less muscles we actually use, the better. So we're going to use our big muscles up here, our forearms and our biceps and triceps. And our grip on our pencil is going to be light and fairly rigid as well. I don't want to use my fingers at all. So keeping my grip of my hand and my wrist fairly rigid, I'm going to use my arm to create that line. See how I'm keeping my hand fairly rigid. In fact, there's not much movement at all in that hand. It's all done up here in my arm, from my shoulder. Now the next thing is the speed that you're actually drawing in as well. Let's try and draw a line fairly slowly. Not too bad. You see a little bit of wobbliness in there though. Let's slow it down even further. Slower I go, the more I'm needing to correct myself as I go along that line. And the slower I go, the wobblier it ends up getting as a result, because I'm constantly trying to correct my line. If we draw this quickly, however, you can see you can get a much straighter, sharper edge. So it's about finding a balance too. If we do it too quickly, it's just going to go in some random direction and we're not going to be able to line it up properly. So we need to go slow enough that we can line up our line, but fast enough that we're not trying to correct every step along the way. And you can see there, I'm not getting them absolutely perfectly straight. Like I said, that's almost impossible, but we're getting fairly straight lines by using those couple of techniques. Lighten the grip, use your whole arm, and maintain a constant and fairly fast-paced speed with your line. Now another thing we can do is set our 2 points of our line that we want to draw. So it's the beginning and the end of the line. Now we can try and draw a straight line between these 2 points. I recommend doing a practice line. So just holding your pencil just above the surface. I'm actually resting my hand on the surface there a little bit as well to help guide my hand. But I'm going to do a practice line a couple of times, just like if you're a golfer, you'll practice your golf swing a couple of times before you actually make the swing. Now, one other thing to keep in mind is the direction of the line. If I'm using my whole arm, I need to position myself somewhere in front of the canvas so that I can actually use that arm to draw it. For example, if I'm drawing in this direction, it's a lot harder for me to make use of my whole arm to do it. And so there I end up compensating for it by using my fingers. So if I'm drawing in this direction, I might be better off standing over here where I can actually use the length of my arm to make that line. If I'm drawing in this direction, I might be better off over here where I can do that. So if you're standing up and drawing like this, it's a matter of positioning yourself somewhere that you can make use of your whole arm. If you're using a drawing table, don't be afraid to actually turn your drawing around or your drawing board around so that you can make use of your whole arm to draw that line. Now, Michael, you mentioned in your email that you're particularly interested in drawing horizon lines. Now, I've got another tip for you to get your horizon lines perfect, because not only do you need them straight, but you also need them exactly horizontal as well, usually anyway. So another tip for you is to actually use the edge of your page as a guide, and you can position your hand so that you can run your hand along that edge and keeping your pencil perfectly parallel to the edge of that page at all times. So what we want to do is position our hand so that our pencil tip is where we want our horizon line to be. And you can position that horizon line anywhere, but just by changing the length that we're holding the pencil or what we're actually using as a guide, whether we're using our pinky finger there or our palm of our hand to actually use as a guide. So let's say we wanted our horizon line here. What we do is we position our hand there, position our pencil so the tip of it is on that point. We want to keep our hand rigid, so we just want to drag it along using our whole arm again. Remember, if you use your fingers, it's going to fluctuate it. So we keep our fingers very still and use our whole arm to run that along as a guide. And there we have a line that's perfectly parallel with the edge of our page. Now you can do the same thing along the edge of your page as well if you want perfectly vertical lines. It's changing where we're holding our pencil can bring us closer to that edge. Also, whether we're using or what we're using as a guide against there, we can use the palm of our hand, we can use our pinky finger, or we can use different fingers as well, just to give us a different guide to travel along. So there you go, there's a few different techniques that you can use to get straighter lines. Now, I hope you enjoyed that lesson. There's many more lessons to be found on artlessonsonline.com.au. The link is below, so you can go and click on that if you want to see more lessons. If you're new to drawing, there's a whole free video series on there just to get you started. And then there's other courses and membership programs that you can join as well to learn more. So I hope to see you there at Art Lessons Online. Happy drawing.